Hey guys, welcome back to the Drone Camps channel. Just wanted to show you really quickly what comes along with the Upair One Plus. I just got it this week and I got the battery fully charged, and we're going to take you guys out for a flight test. Not only did I get the Plus, I got the 4K version, so super excited about that because I'm going to pair it up with my iPhone 7 and open up the Upair app and connect the Wi-Fi, and we'll do some 4K video with this. We'll also test out some of the modes. It has Follow Me and it also does waypoints. Now, who is this for? Who's going to buy the Upair One Plus 4K? Maybe somebody who doesn't want to buy a Phantom, who wants a cheaper quadcopter like a Phantom, but not so proprietary and constantly begging for firmware updates like the DJI products do. Every time I seem to go out to fly my DJI Spark, Mavic, or my Phantom 4, it always wants a firmware upgrade. I swear they do one like once a week. It drives me crazy. The last time I went to fly my Spark, I actually had to go and connect to my phone while I was driving and update it before I got to my location, because when I first fired it up at the house, it wouldn't let me get off the ground. So I'm expecting that this one's not going to be so much of a pain to update. So we'll see if this gimbal performs. In the past, I've seen versions of this that didn't have the greatest gimbal response. This camera is built right into the drone, so we'll see how this one does. I think it comes all the way up past 90 degrees and goes all the way down at the ground. And it's also a 3-axis gimbal with brushless motors inside, so it's very, very similar to what's on something like the Phantom 3 and the original Phantom 2s. And it looks to have exactly the same size Phantom motors on here. It looks almost exactly the same mold and everything, even the same type of copper coiling. The copper coiling inside these actually looks really good. It also comes with 2 different manuals. One is a kind of like a quick start guide. It has full color illustrations and photos inside. One thing they didn't put in here though, which is kind of annoying, is the Wi-Fi password. The Wi-Fi password is 12341234. So if you're looking for that, there it is. I had to go dig it off the internet to get my phone connected because it wasn't in the user manual either. It just said connect and use the default password. Well, what's the default password? It doesn't say. So there you go. It's 12341234. Now also, these are 9450 props, and they're exactly like the DJI props. So if you wanted to use DJI props, you can do that. They have a little divot on the top right here. That's probably going to be the black one. Yep. And the one with the flat silver top is going to be the silver prop, and they just spin down and lock into place just like that. Now this quad does come with a smart battery on the back, and I wouldn't say it's a totally intelligent battery, but it does have full telemetry to my phone here on the real-time view, so that's pretty cool. And should give me, I'm thinking, 15 to 20 minutes honestly for this review. And the next thing is the transmitter, and it does have 2 antennas on here running 2.4 gigahertz. It has 2 switches very simply. The one on the left is return to home off. All the way down is going to be return to home, and the right switch, they're not labeled by the way. The right switch is going to be altitude hold all the way up, and that's going to be non-GPS. And the next position down in the very middle, that's what's going to be GPS position holding. It says position holding in the instruction manual, but actually it's GPS on. So you'll need that on to use your return to home function. Now the last switch down is IOC, and that's your intelligent orientation control type of mode. And what that does is no matter which way the copter is facing, when you pull back on the stick, it's always going to come back. The drone is always going to come back towards you no matter which way your yaw is facing. So pretty cool. If you get way out there and you get confused and you don't want to hit return to home, you can just flip into IOC and pull the stick back, and the drone will fly back towards you. And right will be right and left will be left, and away from you will actually move the drone away from you. Now also in the controller, you do have manual buttons for video and photo here, and you have a gimbal control wheel over on this side right here. On the very back, if you move this back, you can see the Upair battery is inside your controller, and this is a 3S 1500 milliamp. This should get you hours and hours of flight time. And there's also a charging port right here. If you take this out, disconnect this little JST right here, and you can plug this part into the charger. Now when you turn this on, the power switch is right here. If you turn it to the middle position, you can see that red LED in there. There's not one on the front, so when you go to turn it off, look in the very back just like this, and turn it off, and you'll see that your controller is off. The battery charges up with this charger in about an hour or two, and it has these two proprietary plugs right here, which just plug right into your smart battery. And this is the port for charging the battery in your remote control. But they say in the manual, don't charge both at once, just like the DJI drones say. So let's go head outside, you guys, and let's get this Upair 4K version into the air, and we'll see what this one's made of. All right, guys, here we are with the Upair Plus 4K version, and let's go ahead and get this guy up in the air. We'll do a hover test, and then we'll show you some of the different modes on here. I did fly this one before this demo, and it flew really well, so I was kind of surprised. I've seen some other reviews, like I was saying before, it didn't seem that the first or second version was very good. The 2K version seemed to be okay. I saw some other reviewers have some problems with the compass and some kind of wandering around, but flying this one yesterday, it really held a lock solid GPS hover. So we're gonna go ahead and take off, and we'll take off the altitude hold right there, and then we'll switch over into GPS hold. On this particular quad, it's called position hold, and then all the way down would be IOC, which is kind of very familiar to other quadcopter flyers, what we call headless mode. So no matter which way the drone is facing, left is always going to be left, right, back, and forward there. So you can spin the yaw axis in a 360 and pull back on the stick, and it's still going to come all the way back to home. So pretty cool if you get way out there and you get confused. But it does have some return to home features on the other side right here. If I flip that switch down right here, and I have auto takeoff, all that good stuff. So I've already calibrated the compass. I'm all ready to go. And by the way, you know, if you're looking for something cheap, this is actually a pretty decent drone. So we'll go ahead and get it up in the air for you. So I'm going to check around, make sure I got plenty of wide open space here. Nobody's around. I'm going to go ahead and arm my motors down into the center, just like that, and I'll start recording video. Some kind of Chinese pops up on the middle of the screen. It doesn't have time code, which I would kind of like if it had time code on the screen, but you do see a little square. That means you're recording. So we'll go ahead and do the auto takeoff, and yes, I want to do that. So there it goes into a hover. Now I noticed it kind of did this yesterday. It kind of went up, and because of ground effect, it came back to the ground pretty quickly. But that's a hands-off hover right there, and that's pretty good. Now I do have one LED bar flashing right now, and looks like it's actually holding its position really well. So just like the Phantom series, I have green LEDs in the back and red in the front, you can see. And you can see the Wi-Fi module in the back, that little silver box right behind the gimbal. So if I put it into position hold and I come back a little bit and I let off the stick, kind of comes right back to a stop. So whenever you're in position hold, it's going to do that. So we'll just go ahead and cruise over the field here real quick, show you some flight footage. I'm just going to keep it right inside this little field here. Wow, what an awesome day to fly. So I'm just bringing it back towards me, and I'm going to let off the stick real quickly here, see how quick it stops. Well, you see that it really put the brakes on there for a second. It's holding its altitude and its space in the air really well with position hold. I'm kind of surprised. And the video on this, let's be honest folks, it's not a Phantom 4, it's not a Phantom 3 4K. The image sensor is not quite as good as the DJI drones, but it is an alternative. And in my opinion, it's not a nanny drone, what I call a nanny drone, that's gonna constantly want you to update firmware because of new no-fly zones and all that stuff. So every time I seem to go fly my DJI, I want an update, a firmware update, which is kind of annoying. So let's bring it back over here real quick and pull back on the stick. Let's do a punch out real quick, okay? Let's get it nice and level. really does fly kind of smooth. Okay, so we're going to do a punch out. 1, 2, 3. It does have those brushless motors on there that are pretty much the same motors as what we had on the Phantom 3s. So I'm just going to pan around and check out the view around me. Nice big wide open field over there, and one behind me. There's the neighborhood over there. Very nice. So I'm going to bring it back around here and going to look at that nice view for a second, and let's go ahead and descend. Now sometimes quadcopters have a little trouble making nice video on the descent, mainly because you're kind of falling through your own prop wash there, and it will bounce on the way down, but it has a nice slow descent here. I'm going to go full stick down and see how fast it goes. It's pretty quick. I'm going to let off the stick there. Now also keep in mind, guys, if you're going to do waypoints or you're going to do follow me, that this drone doesn't have any kind of object avoidance on it. So this one's more like a Phantom 2 or a Phantom 3 where you just flew it manually with line of sight and your FPV view right here. So I'm shooting in 4K. I'm going to go ahead and stop that for a second. So let's go ahead and try out a mode. Let's go ahead and try out follow me mode. And I believe when I do go into follow me mode, start follow me, I'm going to confirm, yes, I want to do that. It's going to go to a certain height, and then it's going to look down at me. So I'm going to use my gimbal wheel here. I'm just going to bring the gimbal down so it sees me. And I'm just going to start walking here and see how well it does on the follow me function. Now I did this, the first time I did this, it didn't work out so well. So it looks like it still has me in the view. It should turn with me. Now if it doesn't turn with me, it's not in follow me. Okay, so I'm gonna have to do that again because it didn't turn. Okay, so I'm gonna go into follow me, start follow me, confirm. Okay, now it flew over to another direction here and it has me in the view. Pretty cool. So this is what it did yesterday. Just gonna tilt this gimbal up a little bit. You can still control the gimbal while you're doing the follow me feature. Now it was quite fast yesterday. So I think if you're on a bicycle or something like that, this is going to be able to keep up with you. It's a super fast drone. Now I'm going to walk underneath it and back the other direction, see if I can trick it into finding me. So there it goes back the other direction behind me. It's going to stay behind me. It's actually doing a pretty good job. Just going to adjust the gimbal there. Not bad. Let's see if it'll pick up some speed a little bit. Get back to my original position. That's pretty cool. Awesome. Good job. So the follow me works pretty well. Okay, so now I'm back on the ground and I'm just going to open up the maps here, and I'm going to turn it to standard map so I can see the actually the hybrid view. And I'm just going to zoom in there to my little field here in front of me, and I'm going to set up some waypoints. So I'm going to go back here, I'm going to activate waypoint route planning. I'm going to confirm that, and now that I'm already zoomed into my field, you also have to have cellular data to do this, by the way. So we're going to set the first point out in front of me, third point there, and the last point back home. So we're just going to make a quick 4-point little axis there. Flight height, we'll say 20 meters. Done for that one. And you can change each waypoint height and how long it stays there. So flight height will change to say 15 there, just for fun. Length of stay, probably 10 seconds. 10 seconds on that one. And maybe we'll do 5. We'll speed it up a little bit. But you can make that as long as you want. If you want it to sit at each waypoint for quite a long time, you can do that. And you can have different heights along each waypoint. So we'll do 15 on that next one, 15 meters. And length of stay we'll put to 5.
We'll do 10. Click done. Now my last point there, it's set to 30. So we'll change that to 20. So we have various heights during this course. And we'll say 5 there really quickly. Now when you're all done, go ahead and back up away from your drone. And you have to have it sitting on the ground to execute the waypoints plan. So I have it all set there. Now I can go ahead and fly the route. I can go back out here and I can start recording my video. So now you can go back to the map, in and out of the live view, back to the map, which is pretty cool. So there it goes off to waypoint number 1, actually waypoint number 2. Okay, now it's at number 2. It's going to relax there for a second, and it's already going to the next destination. This is waypoint number 3, and it should come over here fairly quickly. I think I had it like 5 or 10 seconds there for that spot. Let's see if I can change. No, I can't change the yaw or anything during this waypoint, of course. And then this is the last one right here, right above the home point. Okay, so now it's going to relax there for a second. And I have an option on the screen to cancel the task, so at any time I can cancel the task, which is pretty cool. So cancel the task there. So it did a full and quick waypoint navigation. That was pretty neat. The only thing that's a drawback is I can't change the yaw axis. I can't look around while I was flying that route, which is really useful if you're trying to do some type of predetermined flight. It would be nice to be able to look around. But this one flies way better than the 2K version. And I don't know if they worked some things out. They added some new stuff to the software. It's going to go back into position hold there. Look at that. If it's not in position hold, it should kind of drift a little bit on you. So if I let go of the stick, it shouldn't come to a stop. And when you're in GPS hold, it's going to do that, remember? But check out this gimbal. It's working pretty well. I'm going to go back to my live view. But this is really, this is not a bad alternative for a cheaper version of a DJI. And you can still use DJI props on this one, which is kind of cool. So I've only got about 30% battery left, it says on the screen here. And I noticed it came home earlier than what the percentage was on the screen the last time I flew it. So it's going to go up here. Check out the view a little bit. Going to do another quick pan toward myself there, over in this other field here. Nice big wide open field over there, but there's a lot of marsh over there, so I chose to just fly over here, over this nice dirt field. I'm going to get it full stick forward here. Make sure I'm pointed the right direction. Okay, full stick. 19 satellites on here, so we do have GLONASS on this quad, which is really nice. That means dual GPS. That's what a lot of the DJIs have, is dual GPS. Most quads nowadays have dual satellite, dual GPS. But this one doesn't have all this, super fancy flight mode. But then again, this one's under $400 for a 4K drone. And the video's probably, it's not going to be as good, but you know what? I think it's pretty acceptable. If you're just looking to play around, you don't want to spend $1,000. This one hasn't given me any trouble whatsoever. So let's go ahead and flip into return to home. And you can specify the height to come back. So if you have tall trees like this, I would definitely suggest 30 meters up or more, just to give yourself a nice clearance, especially if you have something like that big hill back there, that big mountain. You want to have like a 90-meter return to homes, because remember, this one doesn't have object avoidance. But we'll go ahead and hit home on the screen here, and I can do it from here, or I can do it on the transmitter right here. So I'm just going to do it on the screen here, and it's going to go up to that height. and let's see how close it lands to the landing pad. We took off right on the landing pad right there. And by the way, if you get this one, it does have a pretty close camera to the ground. So your gimbal is really close to the ground. There's not a whole lot of space between the landing gear, the gimbal, and the ground. So they didn't give you too much space there. So what I would recommend is using something like that for yours. Now if it lands in something like that, like the dirt and rocks, it's going to touch the gimbal. So wow, it almost landed right on the landing pad. Oh wow, that is excellent. Actually, that's really good. It landed on the pad. It almost went off and then it decided to scoot over there. So we took off right exactly on the H. Now generally with drones, if you have a return to home situation that it lands about 10 feet around where it took off from, that's usually a pretty good flight controller, and the compass is calibrated well. My landing yesterday, it landed like right here, and the gimbal was in the dirt, so I had to pick it up and put it back there. But the previous version of this, the 2K version, it did not have the motor shut off like you saw here, so that's completely different right there. That's really nice that it does come down, shuts the motors off, and let me hit video stop there, and your flight is over with. So that's actually really cool. So some last thoughts about the Upair Plus 4K. I think what you get here for the price is actually pretty good, and I'm usually really critical on these sort of off-brand China drones. The Upair, the first one that I saw, the 2K one, wasn't that great. It had the 5.8 system on there, which it comes with its own little 7-inch monitor that mounts right here on this, and you don't have to have a smartphone. That's probably the good option for people that don't have smartphones, but it seemed like there was a little bit of fuzzy screen on that one, and on this one there was almost no lag on my phone. So I have an iPhone 7 Plus. Let's see if there's any not a whole lot of lag, which is pretty good for Wi-Fi. And Wi-Fi drones, you know, I usually like the 5.8 better, but I'm actually really liking this app that comes along with it, with the auto launch, the return to home. I have both of my modes right there. You can see the heights, speed, the horizontal speed right there with meters per second. The next one is vertical speed, meters per second. So you have a lot of information right on here. My satellite count is still 20 satellites. So plenty of satellites, and I think there's going to be acceptable video for most people on this one. Now I guess it would be nice if this camera was removable. Obviously it's built into the gimbal, and this little ribbon cable is hanging out like a lot of the DJI drones. So if you hit tree branches or things like that, you might sever that gimbal cable. I usually like to see that gimbal cable is kind of recessed inside the gimbal, but most gimbals out there have that gimbal cable hanging out. Kind of one con. But as far as cons, I'm struggling to find a whole lot of cons about this one. I do want to be really critical on it. Maybe one con is that the camera's not removable. One pro is that you can use those DJI 9450 props, that 9-inch prop from DJI. It's exactly the same. It even looked like it had the same type of plastic over top of it. You do have the same standard LEDs on the bottom of it. Nice thick rubber grommets here. They don't look as thin as the DJI gimbal grommets. These actually look a little better. Now one con might be that a lot of this gimbal looks to be like plastic. So it's not going to be the most durable thing in the world. But then again, a lot of gimbals really aren't. And you have two of these lock pins here. These are going to be removable, I believe. You only have 2 on there. You don't need 4, by the way, so if you guys think you're missing a couple, you're not. But it has lots of vents underneath as well. Vents all the way around underneath it. I like that a lot for keeping everything cool during the summer months. And then you have vents on the top as well, which is really cool. Now, one other con, I think, honestly, would be that there's no LED to let me know that this controller is on. Let me turn the drone off real quick. push once and push again, just like a DJI drone. So now the drone's off, but I just wanted to show you this. The on-off switch is on the back, and it's kind of a 3-position switch here. And I don't know if you can see this or not, but there's a little red LED in here that lets me know it's on. And the on position is in the middle. So all the way to the left there is off. You can see that LED went off. That's the only way you know that this transmitter is on, which is kind of weird. And it gives you a little beep, but if you switch it to the right one more time, it still stays on. It's kind of weird that this is a 3-position switch. Okay, so now the light went out, so it must be off, but it didn't beep when it turned off. Now it's back on. Now it's back off. It would be nice if it beeped again when you turned it off, but I don't see the LEDs on there. But also has a nice big battery in there. This is a 3S 1500 milliamp with that charge port right here. So I would unplug this before you decide to charge this battery. And they say not to charge the battery, the remote battery and the aircraft battery at the same time. But DJI's manuals also say not to do that. But the app itself is pretty good, so I'm going to give the app a thumbs up. It shows me all my flight modes on there as well. And I think they have a pretty good product here. I don't think I have a whole lot of complaints about this one. And the biggest thing was that it flew really, really well. It's really locked in. The GPS did really well holding its position. And in forward flight, it was maybe a little bit jerky, honestly, but I think, you know, and that's letting off the stick. So it's just the GPS and the flight controller reacting really quickly to your stick input changes. But it's nice that you have camera control gimbal wheel right here on the right. And this is intuitive because it is, when you push forward, it goes up. And when you pull back, it goes down. One con about that wheel might be that there's no sort of center point there. You can't feel any kind of notch when you get to 90 degrees straight ahead. But you can go all the way up and you can see the rotors. And then if you push it all the way down, it'll look straight at the ground. So pretty good drone from Upair. I'm kind of impressed with this one. And there's not a whole lot of really bad things about it. I actually enjoyed this one a lot. And I think if you guys were gonna decide to get one of these, I would give my thumbs up for that. It's not a bad investment for the money. It's under $400, and it's not $1,500 like the Phantom 4 Pro. So start out with something like this, and then if you enjoy aerial photography, you know, that's your decision whether you go buy something really expensive like a DJI drone. So I think this is an alternative, guys, for anybody getting into it, just getting started. So thanks again for hanging out with me, you guys. This has been the Upair 4K edition drone with Wi-Fi. It actually did pretty well. So I'm gonna pack it up, go home, recharge the battery, and take another flight later. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out. As always, I'm Justin Davis. I'll see you on the next one.